All right, guys, welcome back to the Paradigm Shift. I am, of course, Big Rob, back with my partner in crime, Jesse. What's going on, brother?
Hey, doing great, buddy. Glad to be back for another fantastic episode of The Shift. I know this one is going to get into the weeds of all things Iran.
Yes, well, that seems to be one of our most popular topics we talk about based on the amount of downloads of our podcasts. This is the third update on the Iran-Trump Strait of Hormuz kind of situation. So let's dive into the weeds of what the latest is and prepare to be offended. So I guess I'll kick things off with what I was reading a little bit earlier today. We know that the peace talks had broken down in Pakistan between April 11th and 12th, right? If I'm correct there. And I'm surprised right there, honestly. I'm surprised markets didn't respond negatively, but they just kind of went sideways on that news. I guess people are kind of getting numb to it now. But outside of that, I guess now they're hoping to extend the peace talks because they do expire on the 22nd of April, right? And I know they said it's a two-week peace talk period, where, from my understanding, the Strait of Hormuz is supposed to be open. I was reading about blockades now, and I read the headline of an article while I was on the treadmill today saying something along the lines of U.S. flips the Strait of Hormuz and is now controlled by the U.S. I didn't know this was a game of Risk. What do you think?
Well, I think it depends on who you talk to, right? And if anything's true with this current administration of the U.S., the story changes by the minute, by the hour, and I don't know if anybody ever gets the truth, right? It's kind of it goes back and forth. So, 1 minute, I even saw, speaking of that, I saw a post that somebody did where they had all of the Trump administration's and the White House's statements on this thing, like over the course of like a month. And you read them, it's pure insanity. It's like, yeah, we bombed them. Yeah, we won. We're the greatest. Hey, where are our allies at? What? You're not helping us? Okay, well, we're looking for peace talks. Hey, we're going to destroy the whole world. It's like, no, we decided not to. And it just kind of goes back and forth.
Read like a bipolar chart.
Yeah, it really does, man. I mean, it's like a roller coaster. And so, what the actual truth is, I'm not 100% sure. And I don't know if anybody accurately knows, if you think about it, because I don't think the U.S. is telling the truth. I don't think Iran is telling the truth. If Saudi Arabia had a chance, they probably wouldn't tell the truth either.
Maybe
and then
everyone's
it's kind of like, who else is there?
Maybe we should all just ask Pakistan what the hell's going on.
Well, Pakistan is trying to broker the deal and be the guy in the middle, but I don't even know if they truthfully know. It's kind of challenging, and so I know we were kind of talking before the episode started. I did take some notes on this, so I had a couple points, and specifically, I have one on the Strait of Hormuz, and so some of the points here. So Iran mined it, supposedly. I don't know if you've heard about this. They supposedly mined the waterway, but they don't know where the mines are. So that's interesting, right? So any of the ships that go through are going through a minefield.
So hang on. So Iran mined it, and Iran doesn't know where they put the mines.
Yes.
Wow. And just on a side note, that is bad for industries because if they mined the Strait of Hormuz, it's going to take 2 to 3 times longer to remove those mines.
Yes.
So that's not good for markets.
No, this isn't good at all. Yeah. And most people, when they think of mines, they think of something in the ground, but these are mines in the water. And so when you're on one of these mega ships, even if they spotted it, I don't know if they could avoid it, to be honest. You
can't just take a sharp left.
No, you cannot. And so, like one of the things with Iran is kind of like, who's leading the country? and they say that Al Khamenei's son is supposedly leading it. And then there was a story that he was dead. And then they said, yeah, he didn't survive the bomb. And then there was a story that he lost a leg. And now the latest story is that he's supposedly disfigured but recovering. I don't know.
Where are these reports coming from?
All over the place. There's misinformation everywhere. So you don't know. You don't know like who's the mouthpiece of Iran right now? Is it some part of the government? Is it the military? Are they acting separately of each other? I don't know.
Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if there was disarray in terms of who's actually running things. Maybe there is some. I mean, that would make sense in terms of why these peace talks keep kind of falling apart, is because maybe there is an internal kind of conflict as to who's in charge over there. Maybe it's a civil situation, right? That they're kind of keeping under wraps. It's entirely possible.
Yeah. I mean, so first of all, there was absolutely an internal conflict. So prior to this whole thing, they had those huge uprisings, and supposedly, again, like none of this gets published anywhere, but how many people did the government, protesters, did the government kill in that process? I've heard it was in the tune of thousands, and that's from somebody with Iranian family. So, again, kind of what's going on. There was already internal strife. Like the people that actually live there, most of them don't support what the government is and the way it's run. They just happen to live there. I was talking to somebody else that he's Iranian and he lives in Germany. And he was telling me that he can't call home. They can only call him. And he said when they do, the line is monitored. So they can't really get into certain things. Like it's always got to be kind of very brief,
Yeah. Stick
really
to how's the dog. Code words.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, though, so going back to the Strait, right? So this is interesting. So I don't know if you've seen China's role in this thing all along, or Russia, because they're both getting involved because they're allies with Iran, right? And Russia in particular has been taking the Iranian drones and firing them into Ukraine for the last 4 years, killing civilians left and right. Okay, great. So now they're sort of involved on the backside. But then you also have China that's been getting involved. And the interesting thing with China is China hasn't had a chance to test all of their military equipment. And so I had read a story earlier today where they had said that they were now giving some of their equipment to Iran. And also, when the Chinese ships are trying to go through the Strait, apparently the U.S., the supposed blockade said like, hey, you can't go there. And they said, what are you going to do about it? And win anyway.
Well, I can see why, because let's be honest, you can put a blockade up, but no one wants to be the one who fires the first shot.
Right.
In that aspect, right? No one wants to be that guy. So they're calling his bluff a little bit with the blockade. And I mean, I don't blame them because it's common sense, right? Trump talks a lot, right? But also changes his tune a lot. He's the worst poker player I would imagine there is out there, right? I'll nuke this table if
I have to. And then he goes, oh, well, wait, well, maybe not,
Yeah. I'll get you in the next hand.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? So listen to this. So the supposed blockade started 4/13, so 2 days ago, right? Apparently today, 4/15, they were already turning the ships around like it wasn't quite panning out, the blockade. And so one of the bullets that I got from it also said that basically President Trump has been offering conflicting signals, claiming the war is close to over, while simultaneously threatening to destroy Iran's civilian infrastructure if a deal is not signed. What?
Wow.
What?
What the hell?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. This again, I feel like people are, and especially markets, are starting to price this stuff in because we're not seeing the crazy volatility that we did in the beginning. Um, and that's kind of normal for markets. I mean, when we first see something taking place, the first couple announcements, usually markets crash or pump, and then eventually people are like, you know what, I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you deal with this every day, and it's like again. I mean, you're in Canada. I'm in the U.S. That's Iran. Like the whole world is dealing with this crazy back and forth roller coaster constantly, and eventually you do kind of get numb to it, right? Like, when he put out that Truth Social post in the middle of the night that said, you effing crazy bastards, open the strait or you're all going to die. I'm going to annihilate your whole civilization. And by the way, it's Easter Sunday. Praise Allah. And everybody was like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? And he's like, oh, yeah, I sent it, but I guess I didn't mean half of that. And it's like, huh?
I was howling when I read "you crazy bastards" at
Yeah.
the end.
I know. And he sent it in like the middle of the night. It's like, dude, you should know better. You're 79. Come on, man.
You're not just some billionaire. You are the president now, right? You're not just running your own companies. You have a little more global influence. Like, when I read it, I thought, there's no way that this is real. This is somebody putting out a fake Truth Social, thing. When I saw it over on X, I was like, there's no way he said "you crazy bastards," but he did.
Apparently, he did. Yeah. Yeah. Now I don't know if he's actually typing it or if he's just shouting in the room and somebody's like feverishly putting this in and they just hit send.
Probably he probably does pay somebody to, I'm going to say it and you just type it out, kind of thing, right?
Right. I think
they should hire someone that, if there is someone doing that, it should be someone who, like, will kind of type it out and then save it without putting it up there first. Let them cool down for half an hour and then say, you sure you still want me to send that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty funny. All right, so slightly different part of this thing. So I know you mentioned the ceasefire earlier, right? So ceasefire brokered by Pakistan. However, in the middle of the ceasefire, Israel has continued to bomb the absolute daylights out of Lebanon under the guise of their supposedly bombing Hezbollah, kind of just like what they did in Gaza, right? Where they said, yeah, we're bombing Hezbollah. And, never mind the millions of civilians that live there that we just sort of ignored while we bombed their whole, city into rubble, right into the Stone Age. And so anyway, so now they're bombing the hell out of Lebanon. And in the meantime, they basically displaced, it's 1.2 million people. They've killed 2,000 people with their bombing. They've wounded 7,000. They've killed 22 journalists, one of which, I don't know if you saw the X video, he was out there reporting. He clearly has a vest that says press. It says press all over everything. And they tried to hit him and they missed him, right? So they're purposefully going after journalists. And so one of the other things that has come about is on April 9th, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Netanyahu and his defense minister, both specifically for what they've been doing in the war, and more specifically for that they're starving the population in Gaza, the genocide. So the people that are still alive, they're starving them.
This is the weirdest ceasefire I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What? Like, unbelievable, man. Like, how do you, here's a question. How do you have a ceasefire that's not a ceasefire? Yes, we'll all agree for a ceasefire, except those guys.
Yeah, we didn't say Lebanon, so we continued to just annihilate, a city block after city block. What?
You should see Lebanon sitting in the corner like, hey, what the hell, bro? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. That's what I mean. Like, if I feel like there is a conflict in terms of who's making decisions out there, because that just it doesn't add up, right? I mean, you'd think it would be common sense that if there's a general ceasefire, but you're still going to attack Lebanon, like it just, I don't know, it doesn't add up to everyone who's running things over in Iran right now being on the same page.
Well, this is Israel doing this part.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, everyone is clearly not on the same page, though, right?
No, they're not. No one is. They're all sort of pretending to be, but no one actually is. I mean, again, displacing 1.2 million people, killing thousands, wounding 7,000 people. That's not like a whoops. You know what I mean?
It's not an accidental missile fire or something. Like it's
no.
A lot of collateral damage is happening here during this ceasefire, and I don't know. And here's the thing too: is like, have you seen Trump talk about this at all?
No.
Like, it's just kind of happening, and no one's really addressing it, right?
Yeah, and you know, a lot of things with Trump, especially V2, have gone completely against norms, established norms of years and years of precedent, like in the US, that, you know, typically when you get into something like this, the president does like a nightly address. They address the nation. They say, hey, here's what's happening and why. In the following days, we'll be talking about this. You know, they do their press conferences or whatever, and they go into it. Not this group. They don't. Either they don't tell you anything, or what they do tell you changes by the minute. You know, and they're always kind of like angsty about it, one way or the other. And in the meantime, you know, we can get in this later, or we can talk about it now. Is, you know, like in the U.S. Congress, they filed articles of impeachment against Trump and Hegseth, the, you know, our quote, Secretary of Defense, aka War, over the numerous war crime violations that he's done. And there are numerous, including bombing the girls' school, blowing up the unarmed ship, even taking out the leader of Iran. As much as you hate his guts and as much as you'd like to get rid of him, you can't just do that.
Yes.
You know,
there are rules. Yeah,
there are rules.
Let's put a pin in the impeachments for a moment.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, do you think that because the norm is not being followed in terms of public address, like you said, on a nightly basis, do you think that that's probably people on his administration that are saying maybe it's best if we don't give him a microphone every night?
It could be. So in Trump V1, after he was president, 42 of his 44 cabinet members said he was unfit for office. These are the people that he was surrounded by at some point in time during that 4 years, right? And it changed constantly.
Who saw him behind the scenes and things he was doing?
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, you got to think like the public only sees what's in front of the curtain, but they see everything behind the curtain also, right? And they said, yeah, absolutely not, no way. But again, when they're in there, no one ever speaks up when they're in there, ever. They all just sort of, you know, dance on eggshells and go along with it and don't say anything. And then the moment they leave, they write a book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, truthfully, not to be, you know, anti or pro Trump. I like some things he does and says. I dislike other things he does and says. But at the end of the day, we see a lot of his jerk reactions to things, and sometimes we're like, "Whoa!" Right? Like, bro, chill. It's like calling them crazy bastards and threatening to destroy them and wipe them off the face of the earth, for example. Imagine, if you will, the stuff we don't see, the jerk reactions we don't see. How many things do you think he's thrown across the Oval Office?
A lot. Yeah. And you know, you want to take it one step further. Just take anything that Trump has done over this entire last year and put Obama's name on it. There would have been a mob with pitchforks, and, you know, Fox News would have been blasting around the horn nonstop about how unfit he was for office and we need to get him out ASAP. But because it's Trump, they kind of like dance around it. And ironically, Fox News, is one of those things that kind of propelled him into office to begin with. But truthfully, he really doesn't see eye to eye with Rupert Murdoch or the family of Fox News that runs it, like at all. like they really don't see eye to eye at all. And there's even a few different news anchors on Fox News are finally starting to say, like, yeah, this is crazy. Like we can't even keep up. Like, you're completely insane. How are we doing this? And we're only 1 year in,
Have you ever seen the movie The Post?
No.
Tom Hanks? I highly recommend that you watch it. I think it was back in the 60s or 70s. It's a true story about the Post and how Tom Hanks's character says a line in the movie that I'm like, what happened between then and now? Because he says, like, the time of journalists being in the same rooms and rubbing shoulders with the politicians and the bankers and all that stuff needs to come to an end, right? Because what was happening in the movie was, political influence and financial influence from, bankers and all that kind of stuff in terms of what should be printed, what stories should be printed and stuff, right? And it was like, and it was a true story. It's like, we need to end this. And they started printing these stories that the politicians did not want them to print because it was detrimental to the politicians. And that's kind of what kicked that kind of era off. What the hell happened?
To the journalists?
No, to that concept. I mean, of not, rubbing shoulders and just doing what politicians and bankers and all that stuff, printing what they want them to print. There is no non-bias journalism anywhere. That's why so many people have turned to social media influencers to get the news now and stuff like that, because it's more. I mean, it's obviously always biased because we're all amateurs here, but at the end of the day, you're going to get more of a down the middle look at it than you're going to from CNN or Fox or anywhere else. They've just become completely and utterly, ridiculously, obviously biased in one direction or the other. And I don't know how anyone watches either broadcast, any news broadcast on television, or reads their print and thinks, man, they're being real honest here. They're not biased at all. Right?
Yeah. It's all about reinforcing what people want to believe. So whatever side you normally lean to, or you think you're this or you're that or whatever, whoever reinforces that, that's who you naturally like. And they know that, right? I mean, again, Fox News said in court when they almost went bankrupt after the voting machine defamation case that they lost. Okay. Yeah. Where they smeared the voting machine, Old Dominion, and I can't remember the other one. They smeared them for like well over a year. Both companies took them to court and said, this is defamation. You don't have anything. And they lost. And in their court filing, they said, we are not a news channel. We're an entertainment channel. That's what they said. So now granted, don't get me wrong here. That's just Fox News. Now CNN, I think, is equally bad the other way. I agree with you. I can't watch any of them because it makes my head hurt when they start talking. I'm like, I don't care, Van Jones or whoever it is on here. Yeah, that they got like the 5 people, and it's like here's like the the entitled Democrat lady over here, and here's the the asshole Republican guy, and here's the entitled black guy that we try to paint him as a Democrat, but really he's a centrist. And just listening to them talk, I'm like, oh my God, like I can't do it. Like when they do the voting night, right? And they're all following along and talking about it. It's like I can take about 20 minutes. And I'm just like, I can't do it. We'll put it on the screen and mute it.
So that way we can kind of see, but we don't have to hear any of the crap. Because we went from, we're not watching discussions anymore. Like you and I were having a discussion about these things. And sometimes we disagree on certain aspects of things, and that's fine, right? But when we're watching these channels, they don't even discuss anything anymore. There's not a conversation that's being had. Everyone is speaking over each other. They're not listening to respond. Like they're not listening to hear, they're listening to react. Right? As soon as they hear enough that they can fire something back before the other person's even finished talking, it's just bullets, right? And I remember Denzel Washington, another quote. Denzel Washington said to a reporter when they asked him about politics or about news and fake news and stuff. He said, "You guys have what a responsibility you guys have, right?" He said, "But you guys went from who can report the most accurate to who can report the fastest. You don't care if it's true. Who can get it out the fastest? It doesn't matter if it's true. Just get it out as quick as you can, right?" And I agree with him 100%. There's no due diligence. You see probably nowadays, you probably see more recants than ever in history, but it's all hidden, like they don't openly do it. It's just in small print somewhere. They recant something and, so it's no wonder that the ratings on these channels are just sinking, especially when it comes to politics. And that is in part why that's one of the things I agree with when it comes to Trump. He's constantly on the press about fake news and reporting, he's absolutely right. Everyone knows it. It's like this unwritten rule now that whatever you're watching on the news or by reporters, it's not the whole story. It's probably 25% of the truth, if that, most of the time.
So I would say he's half right. Right. So I do agree with you that I think half of them do have an agenda, and that's true. And they do write agenda slanted pieces. Now, on the other hand, every time he talks shit or has some inflammatory bullshit statement to somebody who asks him a legitimate question, especially if they're female. I mean, come on, man. Like he looks awful every time he does that. And one of the things they've tried to do is muzzle the press in his administration because it was so unfavorable. And they've recently lost those lawsuits also. So they have to let him back into the Pentagon. But, one thing I would say, I've kind of seen this in my own life. I always like to bring up a good corporate story. So in the corporate world, one of the companies I work for had a newsletter, kind of news internal publication. They do little articles and have a few photos with somebody or whatever, this topic or that topic. And I remember my former boss, meeting with them to do one of these. And then later the article comes out and it's like slanted a certain way. It's sort of like changing his words. And he's like, I didn't say that, and then his boss is calling him like, what the hell did you tell them? God damn it. And they're like going back and forth. He's like, this guy, and he hated that guy because he would always write the articles in a way that were better for his article, but not necessarily for the person he was interviewing. And so he would change your words. And sometimes there were a couple of times that he actually, like when I did them, he would attribute a statement or something to me that was something I didn't say. And he would send it to me ahead of time. I'd say, I didn't say that. Take it out. No, you like if I say it, that's one thing. Fine, leave it in. But this is like you're crossing a boundary here, attributing a statement to me I never said, Yeah,
you don't want credit or fault for it.
Yeah. But, so I can see that argument that in the press there are people that do slant it both ways. Absolutely.
Well, here's the thing though. I mean, we have too much, in my opinion, we have too much protecting press and the things that they say. Right? Like they're not held accountable for anything that they say. They just say they'll and we all know that this is true. Whenever a story gets out, whether it's true or not, right? Once it's out there, they can recall it. They can say, it was not true. It was inaccurate. This was inaccurate reporting by us, blah, blah, blah. But it's already out there. the toothpaste is already out of the tube, right? And that is the stereotype that people will now have about whatever subject it is moving forward, right? That's just the way that our brains are wired. That's the way we work. And there's no accountability for that when it comes to the press. And that is a problem, I think, right? I really do. Because they say whatever. They don't even care. There's no fear of repercussions or being sued or being charged or being put out of business. And I think that is, part of me thinks that that's kind of what Trump is trying to achieve. But I just don't think that he's going about it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. If you wanted to think about going about it the right way, remember, I don't know if you remember this with Hulk Hogan, that he sued Gawker for defamation. And he said that they had basically slandered him. And when they published it, that like none of this was true. And he took him to court and he won. And he won like a sizable, substantial amount of money from them. And I can't remember 100%, but I think he may have bankrupted them when it happened. And so that was a great example of like, yeah, you did publish false stuff. It wasn't true. You were then sued and you faced the consequences, right?
So do you think maybe that doesn't happen more often because the average person just doesn't have the finances to battle a large corporation like that?
Yes, 100%.
That's something that's wrong with the American justice system and Canadian justice system too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with America, really, the party that typically wins a lawsuit is the one that can wait it out the longest. And the other one will eventually just say, I've had enough. And that's it,
We can't afford it. And that was a big problem with the SEC for a long time, right? They would just, especially under Gary Gensler's regime, they would just file these lawsuits against companies. And they'll say, you either settle with us and admit what we want you to admit so that we win, or we'll just drag this case out until you're bankrupt.
Right.
And that is, for me, that's a government agency doing that. That's deplorable in my opinion. Like, again, overreach. So it's I guess what I'm saying is it's not just Trump's administration that maybe overreaches when it comes to powers like that, right? I mean, that was the Biden administration that was overseeing that. You had Maxine Waters and Elizabeth Warren and all of them backing everything that all the overreach the SEC was. I have a funny story. I just read an article the other day from Paul Atkins, and the SEC had reported that out of all the lawsuits that were launched against crypto companies, right, in the last, I think he said 2 years, he said there was zero evidence that any of the lawsuits, wins or anything, benefited a single retail investor in any capacity. And they also reported out that within the last month of the election, before Trump took office, they released the reports of like a rushed get as many lawsuits out as you can before Trump takes office, right? Just put it out there to the public, right in Gary Gensler's smug face. So
hate that guy.
I hate that. Still hate that guy.
Still hate him.
I don't know how he sits across from his wife and daughters at the dinner table every night. I really don't.
I don't know how anybody sits in the room with him. He's annoying, very annoying, and I don't know how the heck he was qualified for that role, but regardless, I think kind of what you're getting at there is maybe a government apparatus run amok, right? And it's kind of a little out of control. And coming full circle here back to the Iran topic, that's what's happening right there. So again, in the U.S., and this is one of my biggest, I think the biggest thing that's in my craw right now over the Trump administration is that he swore an oath to the Constitution and he isn't following it at all, right? And part of the Constitution is the war powers, and only Congress has power to grant war. And they just did it. They totally just did it, right? And they have no plan. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know what the goal is. No one knows what the goal is. It's changed by the day. And so I think a great example of this is I wanted to talk about this. The story of the missing pilot. Did you hear this one?
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Maybe I did, but go on.
You might have. Okay. Have you ever seen the movie Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's what I think of when I think of this story. Okay. So the story was there was supposedly an F-15 or two, something along these lines, that was shot down, and there was, pilots that ejected, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all we ever saw was like here's like the middle of the desert, and here's a seat from a jet with a parachute, but we never saw any pilots or anything, right?
Just a seat in a jet. Just a seat.
Yes. And so the story with this thing is that this pilot was supposedly missing, and that the US government was going to get this pilot, and it was some mountainous region or something like that. And so there's multiple parts of this that don't add up, where you can tell that they're lying to the public and it's really something else, right? So first of all, the supposed pilot, no one knows who it is. This person, in the past, if something like this happened, I mean, they would be like front page evening news, just like the Artemis crew. I mean, it's on that level that if you were alone in Iran in the middle of war, and the US government got you over 24 hours later, and Iran didn't kill you or torture you, that would be amazing, right? There's nobody. So there's no person. There's never been a face. There's not a name. There's nothing. And part of the story is really weird, where they said that the area where the pilot supposedly ejected and landed, where they supposedly found the pilot 24 hours later, was 110 miles away. I don't know about you, but that's a long way to go in 24 hours.
Ride a deer or something? What the hell?
In the mountains.
In the mountains.
In the mountains, 110 miles away. Okay. So physically, that's impossible. Okay. That doesn't add up, right? So then you say, okay, well, what else happened? So supposedly in this operation, they had special forces helicopters. They had 4 helicopters and 2 planes that the US government supposedly blew up afterwards, because somehow they used all this equipment to get in and then weren't going to take it out or whatever, and they got rescued some other way. But the story is just like with Afghanistan, they said, oh no, we disabled all of it, so they can't use it, or we blew it up or whatever. Okay, so again, what? Okay, you're telling me 2 large airliners and 4 helicopters all went in, didn't come out. Okay. This is weird. We have the pilot that went 110 miles, no name, no face. Okay. And then you say, well, what were they really after? And so, this is where they're like, going back to the card game analogy, this is where they're terrible at cards, because you can just see what's actually happening. So the story is, and this is the thing that most people can agree on, is that we don't want Iran to have enriched uranium capable of creating a nuclear bomb. Okay. Yeah. But the reality is we have no idea where that enriched uranium is. Okay. Now they have rough ideas, and they think it's in the mountains, which is where this would have been, right? So they think it's in the mountains, but they don't really know where, and they don't know how deep. And so, like, one of the crazy things in this whole story is that, you and I have talked about in one of the other episodes that the US government was surprised by all the missiles that Iran started firing out of the desert, where all of a sudden they pop the cap. It's like a sewer cap, goes off where you thought it was a sand dune, and all of a sudden a ballistic missile's coming out, right? So we have no idea what's underground or where it is. And so what I think was going on, and what a lot of people are starting to think likely happened here, is that they probably sent in special forces. They tried to find the uranium. But even if you found it, how do you get it out, right? This isn't like a like a briefcase, or like Mission Impossible, like we get like a thumb drive. Like that's not how this is, right? Like this is like substantial. Like how do you just get uranium out of Iran of all places? I mean, just the whole idea. Once you ask like secondary questions, it's like this is pure insanity. And so I think the story here with the pilot is completely made up. And I think it was a ruse to try and do this special operation. And again, Cavalier Pete thinks he's smarter than everybody, and he's like the dumbest guy in the room.
I think that I heard another story involving this that was like, now that you tell me this story, it feels like what I heard was like a distraction from asking those secondary questions that you're talking about. If I'm right, so what I heard was they made it like a leftist woke situation where I guess the Secretary of Defense made the comment that no man is left behind.
True. Yeah.
And everyone on the left lost their minds saying, so I guess the implication is you would leave a woman behind, right? That was like this big thing. Yeah. It's like, what? They've been saying this, the military has been saying this has been their mantra for generations, for decades and decades.
Mm-hmm. Right.
No man left behind, right? It's a figure of speech, as in, doesn't matter if, and listen, it probably started back when women were not allowed to enlist in the military.
Well, they're definitely in it now.
Yeah, but to be so asinine to make the connection that because he said no man left behind, that must mean we would leave a woman behind. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard someone take offense to at the end of the day. Like, you must be unbelievably like ignorant to life. Like, did you live your whole life in a basement somewhere? Like, you have no kind of connection to how people talk or figures of speech or metaphors, or like you everything is just literal to you.
Some people are like that. That's true. You know what that makes me think of is obviously Chuck Norris just passed away recently. R.I.P. Chuck Norris.
R.I.P. Chuck.
There was a great joke. It was something along the lines of like, yeah, Chuck Norris went to a feminist convention, and came back with a girlfriend, or something along those lines. It's kind of like he can even break through that. Like nothing can stop him.
I'm seeing a lot of the Chuck Norris videos and jokes and all that stuff. And the guy's a legend. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's great.
There's a video of the Grim Reaper sitting there like sweating and just like, like preparing for something. And then it's got to go get Chuck Norris. Right?
Yeah, he's going to come in and yes, he's going to kick you in the face. Like it's coming.
Oh, Chuck. Life wouldn't have been the same without you, buddy.
No. So
back to the sorry.
Ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so back to what we had pinned in the impeachments, if that's where you wanted to go next.
I actually had one thing right before that.
Okay.
So one other small side note is troop movements. Okay. So the U.S. has already sent, I want to say it's 6,000 troops supposedly aboard one of these aircraft carriers, or they flew into Saudi Arabia or something along those lines, right? And their latest thing was that they were sending 10,000 more.
Boots on the ground?
Maybe, right? Maybe. So 16,000 total. Now, when you think of sending 16,000 people, so first of all, you got to fly them all over there. They're not all just there, right? You got to move them from other places. Huge logistical operation to support 16,000 people. That's a lot. Okay, great. Okay, but 16,000. All right. Now, I looked up the numbers. This is what I found. I'm not saying it's 100% right, but it could be ballparked. Okay. So supposedly in the Iranian military, the IRGC, they've got 190,000 people. Okay. So soldiers, whatever, 190,000. So your 16 is looking a lot smaller. Now, outside of that, in Iran, they've also got their armed militia that they say is up to 25 million. Okay.
Send in Chuck Norris.
You're going to need Chuck Norris on this one. You will absolutely need Chuck. There ain't no way that you're going to do anything with 16,000 versus either number, 190 or 25 million.
Chuck Norris with the slingshot. He can take care of it. That's a lot, though. Million? Holy.
Million. Yeah. So again, I mean, I get it that you're trying to show you're trying to show that you've got this force, and I understand that, but at the same time, it's all kind of relative, right? Because then you say, okay, they have 190,000, and then on top of that, they have up to 25 million armed. But like it's kind of like if you reverse this and you looked at the U.S., you know how many guns are in the U.S.? Just average houses. You know how many people have guns? A lot. Like if an army ever tried to invade the U.S., I mean, we could get some of these shit kicking rednecks and just say, hey, there they are, and they'd be like, got them, you know, and they'd get out all their guns and shit and just go to town.
Finally, an excuse.
I know. So you got like the same kind of deal there, except you have this weird, like, oppressive regime over it. But again, you have all these people, right?
It's a massive militia.
Yeah.
The entire country is just one big militia.
Yeah. And you know, ironic enough with this, you almost got to say, okay, so if they have that many people, why don't they just like overthrow the government? Ain't easy. You know, like the way this whole thing works. Again, you know, with Trump killing Al Khamenei, he was 86. Dude was going to die anyways. You don't think they have a backup plan? And you know, like this is the problem when you cut off the head. There's another head pops up. You know, and you take that one out, another guy pops up.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't want something similar to what happened in Afghanistan. I mean, how long boots on the ground were they there?
20 years.
Wow, man! Like
20 years, and for what? What did we get out of it at the end? Nothing. We had this embarrassing fly out, and then the worst part of it. Well, there's two bad parts. One of the really bad parts is that they basically reversed all the women's rights and things like that. So it went to this super oppressive culture again, unfortunately. And the even worse part was all of the translators and people that helped the U.S. government. We abandoned them, all of them. And they probably got murdered, half of them.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
They're done.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? How do you not at least bring them over to the U.S. or something to keep them alive, protect them? Like
this is one of those items that, you know, where I tell you I equally disliked Biden. This is one of those. Like that was managed so piss poorly in the way that they just sort of like.
Did they abandon a bunch of weapons and stuff there too?
They abandoned every. Yeah, oh yeah, we you know pulled the couple screws out of it. It doesn't work anymore. Oh right, like they can't fix it. Come on now. I mean, you know, like if you look at, I don't know if you've ever seen Cuba, like modern day Cuba still has cars from like the 50s, and it's really kind of cool. It's almost like frozen in time from basically where like all trades stopped. But the crazy thing is, you know, the people that live there are resilient, and they just like sort of like give me, you know, it's like the guy from Half Baked, you know, where it's like, you know, give me a bubble gum blowtorch and a avocado, and you're like, what, you know, and he puts it in the engine, the car works. And, you know, they're gonna do the same thing over there, you know, with everything we left. They'll re-engineer it, you know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you have to. Yeah, you adapt, right?
Yeah.
So what is the latest on these impeachments?
Well, that could be an episode all on its own. The latest is the articles of impeachment. I think it's Article 25, and it's for Cavalier Pete, and it's for Trump, right? And like I said earlier, Cavalier Pete has committed multiple war crimes. He also, I think one of his statements, he said something about no quarter, something like that, which basically means they're not following any international rules of war whatsoever.
Yeah, rules of engagement are out the window.
Yes. And so basically, he is saying right off the bat, I'm going to direct you as a war criminal would. And so there have been in the US some generals that have spoken out and said it's okay not to follow an illegal order. Now, obviously, if you're in that position, that is a really awkward position, right? Saying it and doing it are totally different. But in the US, there has been some of the military has come out, former military, especially the ones that he's fired left and right. All of the people that would have prevented the bombing of the girls' school, that probably would have prevented most of this. Any dissenting voice, he just sort of haphazardly fired. And so all of them have spoken out and said, look, if he's giving you something that goes against the rules of engagement, you can decline that, because otherwise you can be charged as a war criminal. You know, I mean, think about that. So, like I said earlier, he blew up the boat. He gave the directive for that. They blew up Al Khamenei. Okay, great, whatever. Blew up the girls' school. I'm sure there's probably multiple other things that have happened along the way. Oh, all of his blowing up of various boats between the U.S. and South America. They don't even know who's on these boats or why or what. They just sort of blow them up. And one of them had survivors, and then they hit it again. These are all war crimes. So there's that. Now with Trump, it's kind of a never-ending laundry list with him in terms of war crimes, insider trading. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on every day.
So what's the point of an impeachment? What is the consequences of an impeachment, multiple impeachments? I'm asking this as a Canadian. I don't know the intricacies of it down in the States. So what are the consequences? What's the point? Is it just, oh, he got impeached, and then it's like, okay, and then we just keep moving forward and there's no consequences, or what's...
Okay, so let me try my best to explain this. So you have to go back in time to when the country was founded, right? The founding fathers. And at that point in time, Washington in particular said, do not make political parties, for basically all the long laundry list of reasons we have today of why they suck. He gave us all those reasons all the way back then, and we did it anyway, right? So if you go back to a time of no political parties and it's simply individuals, well, then you're basically trying to create a working governing document that holds people accountable. This is why you have three branches of government. This is why the power is split between them, right? Like I said, Congress can only declare war. Congress controls the purse. You're supposed to have a Supreme Court that's entirely independent and not political. It is, right? And so what's really weird right now, and it just the kind of the way everything unfolded, and this is where Biden was asleep at the wheel, was because he was such a piss poor leader. It sort of let all of this happen that one political party took all four areas. So they basically they took the Senate, they took the House of Representatives, they took the presidency, and they took the Supreme Court. And so what that has created is your normal checks and balances that if we were all simply individuals and nobody was politically affiliated, we could all individually vote. But that's not reality, right? The reality is you're backed by donors, you're backed by lobbyists, people have an agenda. Like I told you before, like probably 4/5 of the U.S. Congress is bought and paid for by the Israeli lobby.
Wait. Are you telling me people pay politicians to do things that are detrimental to the American citizen but beneficial to the person paying the politician? That can't be true. You're a conspiracy theorist.
I'm gonna shine a little light on this one, buddy. Yes, it is true.
You don't say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to ask AI. That sounds made up.
But you know what's really funny is if you actually look at the different departments of the U.S. government, usually they're tied to like an industry, right? Like the Department of Agriculture is sort of tied to farming, right? And the people who are in the Department of Agriculture, they'll be in that department for 5, 10 years. Then guess where they go after that? They hop the fence and they go over and they become part of the lobby on the other side for farming. And then they may stay there a little while and they may hop the fence and come back. And that's how it works, is that the lobbyists and the politicians are constantly hopping back and forth over the fence.
Now, I would say that we need terms for especially Congress.
Yes.
There are some mummies sitting in there. Maxine Waters, really?
I know.
Like, unbelievable. How old is this woman, right? Like, I don't know, man. There's so many. There was that one politician who was having like strokes. I can't remember his name, the guy with the glasses.
You thinking like Mitch McConnell?
Yeah, he's up there having a
freeze up.
Like 10 minutes. It's like,
I know.
Get this man out of here. Like,
as far as I'm aware, he's still in there. Like I think he's retiring at the end of the year, maybe. I don't know.
Who votes for these people?
That's an even better question, right? Because I know you and I have talked about this, but it's worth mentioning again that a lot of these people have sucked for like 20 years or 30 years or 50 years. I mean, Pelosi, how long has she been in there? Like 70 years? I mean, she's like 90.
Bad about the world's best investor. Okay?
Yeah, this is true.
Put some respect on her name.
But case in point, again, I mean, term limits, age limits. You know, I've made the joke before, but it's true that if you wouldn't get in the car with that person driving, then how the hell are you electing them, right? And this is why I thought of with Biden, because he liked to make it look like he was cool and he put on his aviators and get in the Corvette. You want to get in a Corvette with that guy?
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, he's going to crash you straight into anything, like literally anything.
Geez, politically, we have, if I could go back in time to myself to like 1995 or something and tell myself, my younger self, where things are at, like half the stuff Biden said was just like, there's like memes and TikToks about it. He would just go off talking about something that made no sense whatsoever. And people were like, oh no, he's perfectly coherent. What are you talking about? Like, because we can hear him talk. Right?
We can hear him.
What the fuck? You know? If I go back and tell myself, there's no way my younger self would be like, come on, bro. Like the biggest political problems we had back then was the president getting a blowjob.
True.
That was the biggest problem we had. That was like a shocker to the world, right? Everyone was like, oh, no. And then it was like this big scandal, and Monica was on the news, and she was testifying, and it was this big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now we wouldn't think twice. Oh, president got a blowjob. Yeah, me too. Right? What else you got?
What else you got in there? Yeah. Yeah, you know what's amazing about that, speaking of age, is Clinton is younger than Trump. Just think about that. Clinton was president like over 30 years ago. He's younger than Trump.
That's crazy.
That's what we're dealing with today.
Trump's like, what is he, 79?
79, almost 80. Yep.
He's starting to get close to that point too, where sometimes some of the things, and you see him sometimes, and he is starting to look a little worn. So
he's looking very worn. You know, he takes 4 maximum strength aspirins a day, and he said publicly, "Yeah, I like thin blood." Well, dude, your liver's failing in the meantime with your 4 maximum strength aspirins a day.
You figure his doctor would be telling him that.
Well, sometimes they show him, and on his hands, he'll try to cover it up, but he'll have like a huge bruise on his hands, because that's what happens when you take too much aspirin, is you naturally bleed because your blood's so thin. And you know, I would say too, I remember I had an elderly neighbor, and she would tell me that her skin just like turned into like paper, and she's like, I like, if if I even just bump the wall the wrong way, I like just start bleeding, and it just doesn't stop because she's on all these blood thinners, you know?
That's terrifying, though.
Yeah.
What is that disease called? There's people with that disease. I don't know if it's called. I don't know if it's actually a disease. It's a medical condition where if they get cut, their blood cells don't coagulate or whatever. They don't close the wound, and then they'll just continue bleeding forever until they die. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's terrifying. Imagine that, man. I couldn't. I'd be walking around with super glue in my pocket all the time.
Hey, wait a minute. I gotta ask, are you a super glue guy? Have you ever super glued a cut?
I have.
I have too. Funny story. When I was younger, I was using a chainsaw at one point, and whatever I was sawing, it popped, right? And it kind of hit my foot in an instant, and I thought, oh no! And I looked, and my foot was bleeding, right? And I ran straight into the garage, wiped it off, super glue.
Exactly. Yeah. Fixed. No, no muss, no fuss, right? It's gone. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, it'll do that. I even cut my knee at one point. This is another crazy story. I was helping a buddy do construction, and I was leaning down kind of on my knees. I was tying my shoe or something, and the grinder turned on, and it sliced my knee like in an instant. And he was like, "Oh shoot!" And I was like, "Whoa!" And the weird thing was because of where it was at, like I felt nothing. Like there was like no nerves at all. It must have just been fat, basically. And I told him, I'm like, go straight to CVS, get the super glue. And he was like, what? I'm like, yeah, get the super glue. We're all fine, you know? And that's exactly what I did. Super glued it, good to go. Never did anything else.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a man's way of doing it, right?
Yeah. Be a real man. Put some super glue in it. Some Gorilla Glue mixed.
Hammer up some drywall. We're good.
Yep. And the sponsor of today's video is Gorilla Glue.
Yes, Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue. Reach out to us. We need a sponsor. Absolutely. Speaking of which, wow, we've reached our hour again today. So this is going to be the first episode that we will be releasing on YouTube.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Hopefully YouTube doesn't shut us down for offending people, and we'll see what happens. But make sure if you're watching on YouTube, guys, like and subscribe, leave a comment, so we know which topics you want us to cover next. If you're listening over on Apple or Spotify or any other source for the podcast, give us a 5-star review. Thank you so much for the support, as always. What are your closing thoughts, brother?
Oh, man. Another complicated, complex topic. I'm not sure if there's a truth on either side. Where we stand today, I don't know. I would simply say I'm hoping for the best. I hope it's over soon, and hopefully we can get back to some sense of normalcy. That's it.
Yeah, for me, I would say my final thoughts are, I said it at the beginning of the announcements of these 2-week peace talks, guys. It's going to be a roller coaster mentally and emotionally, and especially if they expand the deadline even longer. Right now, the deadline expires on the 22nd. It's going to be a lot of peaks and valleys, ups and downs. If you were hoping to have a nice, calm couple of weeks, I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you, right? We all know that as soon as Trump hears something that he doesn't like, he will turn to social media and crash the markets. So just hold on, pay attention on a daily basis, guys, to what's going on, because it affects our everyday lives, right? I know it sucks to have to follow these things, but it affects markets, it affects gas prices, it affects oil, it affects everything on your day-to-day most likely. So if you hear something that's going to increase oil prices and stuff, maybe go fill up your gas tank before the price goes up, right? So
absolutely.
Plus, you combine that with summertime coming, gas generally increases in price. On top of that, we could have a compounding effect going into the summer. So watch your gas prices out there, guys.
Yeah, don't sell that EV just yet.
100%. All right, guys, this wraps up another episode of the Paradigm Shift. Like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and we'll see you guys on Monday instead of Sunday this time. God bless.
Till next time. Thank you.